Hi, I'm Dan Costa, Chief Content Officer at Worth Media Group, and I am here at the Milken Global Conference in Los Angeles. I am joined by Vlad Lukic, the global leader of BCG's Tech and Digital Advantage business. Vlad, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Pleasure to meet you.
So we're going to talk about AI, as we often do at Worth and at Autonomy. It's been an interesting couple of years in terms of AI becoming a mainstream consumer product, but also being the technology that so many companies have bet on to transform their own businesses. Can you give me like a little history of like how AI has been adopted since ChatGPT went live and was available to everyone?
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to meet you and looking forward to this discussion. It didn't start 2-3 years ago. Like the math has been there since the 60s and the 70s, right? The underlying algorithms, etc., were there. What has changed was the compute power, so we can do more things at speed. The cost of it went down, so it became more accessible. And then we had the breakthroughs with LLMs that brought to life the magic of what is possible, right? And that was the catalyst for a lot of the companies to say, let's deploy it, right? So what I've seen over the last 2-3 years is that the ChatGPTs of the world, the underlying LLMs became a catalyst and a trigger to have the conversation around AI. And so when we get into the deployment of it, I would say 70-80% end up being the traditional predictive, prescriptive algorithms that we deploy, and then a subset of it, stuff that is driven by the large language models, right?
I think the thing that changed is that now everyone in the company, from entry-level people to the CEO, could all play around with an LLM and understand that something big was going to happen. I think they all raced back to their boardrooms and they all said, we're deploying and we need it live in 6 months. It was very expensive for a lot of companies to do that, and a lot of those projects failed. Can you talk a little bit about that first wave of? Yep. Not everybody was disappointed, but a lot of companies lost a lot of money.
And if they didn't go to the board came to them and said, why are you falling behind, guys? We need you to lean in, right? Now, when you look at individual projects that they have deployed, I would agree with you. A lot of them did not have the return that was expected from them. But when I step back and we do the forensics on those programs, a lot of them actually catalyze the right conversations. It helped them realize the importance of data, need to clean it, the governance around it. It forced them to think about the tech stack and the right architecture. So even for those that didn't result in immediate paybacks on an individual basis, they did trigger the right cleanup and infrastructure build for most of the companies to start getting ready for all the new stuff that is coming at them. So that would be kind of one lesson. And then the other one is when they did fail, rarely was it because of the data or because the algorithm didn't get the right results. It was because the ability of the organization to digest stuff at a different speed, right, and a different level of granularity was just not there. And building that muscle cannot be done in weeks or months. It takes a longer period of time.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that the technology also, I still think it's useful to think of the public launch of ChatGPT as just a benchmark.
Yep.
in space. But the technology also has evolved incredibly in the last 18 months.
Yep.
And I don't know that humans in our business practices certainly have the capacity to evolve as quickly as the technology itself.
Correct, and it's going to continue at that pace, right? So it is more, how do you build ability to digest this at the relevant pace as it's coming at us, right? And so that's where I see the companies that lean in. They have figured out a way to stay on top of the latest tech trends and being able to understand what's coming and at which speed, and then they know how to digest it and deploy it at the right workflows in their organizations. So building that muscle, some people say skill, it's actually muscle because you want it there forever, right, is a new competitive edge for companies that pull it off.
And I think part of it is the engineers. You need the right engineers who actually understand the technology, know how to build it. But I think more importantly, and the thing that probably trips up a lot of companies, the marketing department needs those muscles. The comms department needs it. The accounting department needs it. It needs to be embedded through the entire company.
Yep.
And those are the people that may not have the intuitive understanding of like AI's potential, but they're the ones going to eventually need to deploy it and
Correct.
build it into the business.
Correct.
So, I know a lot of companies are like, we're just going to deploy it, we're going to build it, we're going to give it to people, and then they'll use it. I think you think there may need to be a little bit more guidance and a little bit more of a top-down approach.
Well, it needs to be combo, right? What I'm finding out is A CEO asked me to come and present to his team, and he said, by the way, guidance to you, warning, no one in our company is allowed to use any of the pick your favorite LLMs out there. We put the ban because we don't have the guardrails. So just so that you know, that's the audience. There's 200 of them. Like, we're not using it, so warning. So I get on the stage, and my first question to the group is like, how many of you is using your favorite, pick your favorite? All the hands were in the air. So I looked at him, he was like, and I'm like, how many of you are using it with your company's data? Like, good 3/4 of the hands were in the air. And so I asked them, like, what is going on? They're like, well, it's eliminating toil from my job, and I actually feel disrespected that I cannot use it because it's forcing me to do some things that I shouldn't be using. So it needs to be top down. If you don't do that, employees are still going to do it in an unsafe way, an unproductive way many times. So there is the grassroots demand, but to unlock the value from it, you need to give some guardrails, you need to ensure that there is funding for it, you need to create forums where you can have constructive discussions around it, you need to also create forums where you can rethink how we do the work, right? How do we change the workflows? How do we change the incentives around them so that you can actually deploy it fully at scale?
So we're almost halfway through 2025. By the second half of the year, most analysts are saying AI will evolve and we will enter this new agentic era. Agentic, as far as I understand, it means that the AIs will be able to act more autonomously and in different ways. How do you see that technology evolving? What do you think we're going to see this year commonly available?
It's going to continue down the path that we've seen, and like we've probably started to talk about agents, right? Probably last year around October, November, and we said 25 will be the year of the agents. It for sure is. Now, the interesting thing about agents is they're taking components of the workflows, right, that even were automated in the past, but we're now putting LLMs in between the steps that allow us to make some decisions. The cool thing about it, the level of autonomy is a dial that we humans can decide on. How much do we want to open it up or close it, right? So even for the agents that are going to exhibit a big degree of autonomy, it was something that we decided it's okay to do because it's in a task that doesn't have a big impact. It's all about the speed. It's somewhat of a repetitive task, etc. And we can speed it up there, right? And we can give it the autonomy. If the tasks are mission critical tasks that require a layer of human judgment, we will have full control and ability to control all of that, right? So I am actually excited about it eliminating some of the redundant and repetitive tasks and speeding up the decision-making process, but I'm also comfortable that we have enough of the dials and levers to control the level of autonomy and put it where it's necessary.
What are do you have any examples of like what's being done today with AI that's like super exciting that people may not automatically think about just if they're just familiar with ChatGPT and LLMs?
Like, listen, the cool thing for me is that the best examples are the ones that we don't notice, we don't talk about, and they're just present there. So take, for example, if you go on some of the retail websites where you're buying a product, and what do? You look at all the reviews and you try to synthesize it. Well, the really good ones now have a summary. And they're like, well, we've summarized it, this is a sentiment, and like, oh, okay, duh. Now it's like, you don't even talk about it, it is there, but that's a beautiful example of LLM applied in your workflow that is making your experience better. Is it autonomous? Yeah. Do they have humans that over-review that? Yes, but it's seamless there. Or if you take, there are now tech firms without using the names where if you're using your favorite video, call you either Zoom or Teams, pick your favorite, depending on which of the operating systems you're on, if you have 2 seconds of delay or a buffer, the recipient won't notice. They will actually recreate your image and movement, and it's seamless. But that's a beautiful example of how they're using multimodal models, right, underneath that to close that buffer gap. So your experience is better.
So you don't freeze.
So you don't freeze, it just continued the motion, although you were frozen for at least 2-3 seconds, right? Like, so the good companies that get it are infusing it into the workflows that for us as consumers, it is seamless. It's the same on the business-to-business side. It is for sure the same when we have conversations with chatbots on the other side. It's not so mechanical. It is actually feels like you're talking to a human. And so, like, I would say that's where I would look for the best examples, or it's just seamlessly already being infused into our day-to-day experiences.
So we're just in the middle of the Milken Conference. You got a couple of days to go. Is there anyone that you're really looking forward to meeting, or any conversation you're really looking forward to having?
No, no one specifically. More, it's just like it's such a wonderful place where a lot of the thought leaders and practitioners get together, and it's pattern recognition. When you meet with 50 to 100 of them over those 3-4 days, you get a sense for the big questions, you get a sense for the big problem statements, and where both the energy and the mind share is being directed in. So it gets us a better sense, especially for us in the consulting space, right? We get a good sense for the pain points, and also get a chance to shape a little bit of the thinking. And many times what I'm also seeing, especially in the AI space, the problem statements get framed in a slightly wrong way or non-actionable way. So just being at the table and helping reframe that and build the right energy around it, it's extremely valuable.
That's great. Well, Vlad, thank you so much for taking some time to talk to us today. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
I've been Dan Costa. This is Worth Media, and we'll have more videos like this on our YouTube channel. I'll see you there.